Khajiit of Skyrim. One of the more neglected races by the modding community, or at least so I thought. I've spent about 2 weeks of playing with some Khajiit themed mods, and thus I've decided to dedicate a full video on overhauling this race. We will begin our overhaul by introducing Khajiit Has Wares. This mod is a Caravan overhaul, aiming to make all 6 Caravan campsites players visit a little bit more lively. It does this by introducing static wares around the camp, while also adding few more markers for NPCs to use. So, instead of a single tent and a rug, the camps will be enriched with exotic wares inspired by various races and cultures, while also providing each camp with unique decorations for some dose of individuality. Sometimes these clutter mods add way too much static meshes, making areas overcrowded and causing frame drops, but in this case, using resources from other authors and staying true to their vision, the author has kept it light, which I personally appreciate. The camps will appear pleasing to the eye and not crammed full with bunch of useless clutter. If you're in possession of mid to high-end hardware, 4K textures are an optional provided for even better visuals, and the mod provides a bunch of patches as it does make some landscape changes. Since we are at the Caravan camps, I should briefly mention that I also use Small Nordic Tent Replacer, an aesthetic tent model inspired by Scandinavian design. Next to that, I also use Nordic Tent Upgrade, a texture replacer for large tents, just to capitalize on improved visuals for the entire campsite, and I personally use this one as it remains true to its original size, making sure it does not clash with Khajiit Has Wares. Thank you to Opera GX for sponsoring this video, my #1 browser that I've been using for a few years now, and that it's on a mission to have you completely replace other boring browsers whilst giving full control to you, the user. Last time we spoke about amazing customization Opera GX offers, allowing you to adjust pretty much anything to your liking. This time around, GX Mods. You can now find ways to flip your entire browser a full 180 with one click and pretty much change anything you want. You want over-the-top sound effects when typing? Sure. Want to turn your browser into chaotic evil? Opera GX got your back. Pick one of many mods already added to the browser, or create a completely new one, which will suit you the most. Browser sounds when opening a new tab, shaders that change your entire screen like cyberpsychosis or a cracked screen, cool wallpapers, and you can even change the background on your Discord in the sidebar, all found in a gx.mod section. But Sin, I'd love to swap, but I've got way too many things saved out on my old one. No problem, just click the settings option, scroll down to synchronization, click import bookmarks to settings, and import your history, passwords, cookies, bookmarks in one single click and you're done. So go ahead and download Opera GX by using my link in the description and join me in using this amazing browser. Thank you to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. The next aspect on our agenda to overhaul is of course NPCs. A mod covered in episode 2 of the Hidden Gem series, Project ja-Kha'jay made appearance as an underappreciated mod. Since then, the mod has peaked as the top choice for Khajiit NPC appearance change, as it has been updated many times, reaching its full potential. Caravan NPCs have been drastically changed, each having a unique and distinct appearance, with some possessing lynx-like features, some first stocks taking form as jaguar men or cinch tigers with both facial and their physique, being deployed as bodyguards, others with shorter stature and digitigrade legs, all the way to the appearance that resembles Bosmirs. The reason for this diversity is not simply author's vision, but rather a design inspired by Khajiit lore. As there are 17 different kinds of Khajiit, this mod takes and includes 7 additional types to the existing Skyrim's default Cathay Northern morphology. You will find Pachmar, large tiger-like Khajiit with massive physique, towering over regular-sized Nords, or Suthai, a Khajiit race similar to the races of man, but with digitigrade legs. There is also Daji, a very short lynx-like race, and by far the smallest of the first dogs. Ochmis, a race resembling Bosmirs with distinct tattoos to resemble feline aspect. And finally Tojay, a mysterious race that resides in the jungles of elsewhere. This race diversity results in obvious and almost comical height difference worth mentioning. Dromarash will be towering over all races and heights, making him quite the unit to say the least. He's closely followed by Rashinda, who is slightly shorter than her male counterpart. And finally Kayla, Risad's giant bodyguard, rounding up the full defensive lineup for all caravans. Here is a height comparison footage so you can get the idea just how tall some of these guys are and how short are others. Personally, I'm all about NPC diversity, and the height difference feels like one of the major essences of the mod itself, and it's also one of the main reasons why it stands out. Skeletons and meshes aside, the textures are supreme and I've been using the mod ever since Hidden Gems episode. However, if you're not interested in bending the rules of NPC's appearance, a more vanilla-friendly alternative would be BeastHHBB. This mod, among few other things, overhauls all named Khajiit NPCs without straying away from their original design. As a mod package for the beast races of Skyrim, it introduces countless new hairs, brows, head meshes, and overlays and tattoos, and individually applies them to all NPCs. Khajiit appearance will be closer to the original, with a beast-like appearance, with added facial hairs, tattoos, and jewelry. Now that the NPCs are overhauled, we will shift our focus to player character and their interaction with the world through dialogue and gameplay.
New life shall begin.
If you plan to have playthrough as a Khajiit, it is only logical this is reflected through in-game systems such as dialogue and gameplay elements. We will start with Khajiit Speak.
Approach, my child.
This simple conversation overhaul changes all in-game dialogue to match the Khajiit speech patterns. Generic racial neutral responses are no more with this mod, which means that responding with a simple another time perhaps will instead be, "Do you always ask complete strangers to do things for you? Khajiit is busy." Okay, I promise I won't do that again, but you get the idea. Khajiit have certain speech patterns that has a dose of sarcasm, lack of filter, and they speak about themselves in third person, and this mod mimics that through player text dialogue. The author has also tried to capture some of the slightly stilted feel that Khajiit speakers often have by avoiding contractions such as can't, but sometimes rewriting the sentence completely. Additionally, NPC awareness is included, whereby the player character will recognize other Khajiit in the province and respond accordingly. Player character will recognize a Risat, for example, and slight dialogue change will reflect that without changing its meaning. Bear in mind that Khajiit can often be ironically pompous, and this is perfectly reflected through this mod, and in the process helps a bit with immersion element. At the end of the day, gameplay is the core of every RPG experience, so we will be adding systems that make Khajiit gameplay unique and engaging. Utilizing the race-themed mod Imperious, our Khajiit will have feline agility, sprinting 40% faster with more stamina expended per second. Prowl will make sneaking half as loud, and will allow Khajiit to expend 60 stamina for a powerful leap to engage with into combat. In open combat, Khajiit will overcome their enemies with ja-Kha'jay, a powerful claw attack that deals extra damage equal to 25% of current stamina. And lastly, acquiring 50k gold will unlock Perception, an at-will racial skill that improves vision and mutes distracting sounds. Goes without saying that unarmed combat gameplay is quite suitable for Khajiit, and we can enhance this playstyle with Ordinator perks of Skyrim. Taking Ordinator's light armor perk tree to our advantage, we can access a bunch of melee bonuses that turn this playstyle into a viable option. One of the more notable perks would be level 80 perk Hissing Dragon, allowing us to imbue claws with the element, causing shockwaves on swing. Upon picking up this perk, the element can be chosen by the player himself, and in combat cause devastating damage to their opponents. Adamant hand-to-hand combat would be another option to utilize. This is a dedicated unarmed combat perk tree that, when taken advantage of, can turn the player character into a literal machine. 2 levels of momentum perk, coupled with max level knockout perk, can swiftly overwhelm your enemies with rapid and relentless attacks. Now, all of these gameplay elements are not nearly as satisfying when they are not accompanied with high-quality animations. Luckily, there are a few animation sets and move sets that we can add that perfectly suit the Khajiit race and claw melee gameplay for both third and first-person perspective. Feline moveset animation for Khajiits is an animation mod that changes sprinting to be something more appropriate for a feline race. The 4-legged sprint is quite cool to say the least, and coupled with Imperious's feline agility, results in super fun gameplay. This dynamic animation mod doesn't just cover sprinting movesets for a Khajiit race, but rather expands its arsenal to sneaking playstyle as well. There is a sneaking idol that is completely changed to a 4-legged stance, and also perfectly complements Imperious's Khajiit race ability and bonuses. It also covers sneaking movement, both slow and fast, and looks silly and amazing at the same time, perfect for a Khajiit roleplay. This mod utilizes Dynamic Animation Replacer in order to reference the animations to Khajiit only, and requires no additional setup to be implemented. As far as combat is concerned, Feral is a great choice. These animations were actually scrapped by Bethesda and were left in the game files and recovered by modders. It's utilized by all beast races and obviously Khajiit, and changes idle stances, normal, and power attacks. It also does work in first person, and the most notable change would be the idle stance and the open hand swings with claws at the ready. The alternative option for the first person would be CFPO, covered in detail in my last video, and utilizing Dynamic Animation Replacer has some amazing claw animations for all attacks. Let's quickly go through the Khajiit themed armors used in this video. First, there is Lunar Guard armor set and a battle axe, an ebony tier heavy armor inspired by the Khajiit race and whose name is derived by Lunar Guard in Elder Scrolls lore. Second, there is Khajiit Apex Armory, a medium armor and a weapon set, and this one in particular draws inspiration from the Khajiit armor featured in Elder Scrolls Online, supports male and female, and obviously beast races, purchasable at the Khajiit caravans. And finally, we got Moonmonk Robes, a Khajiit-style light armor inspired by Elsewhere chapter from the Elder Scrolls Online. This light armor is available in handful of alternate colors, and whose crafting recipe can also be obtained from Khajiit Caravan traders. By the way, all of these armors can be distributed to Khajiit Caravan NPCs utilizing Spell Item Perk Distributor and Khajiit Has Wares mod. Goes without saying that this follower requires no introduction, but since it's a Khajiit themed video, would feel wrong to exclude Inigo. Inigo, being the most comprehensive and most detailed follower mod ever created by the modding community, is an award-winning custom voice companion with over 7,000 lines of dialogue. He can be found in the Riften jail in the first cell to the left next to Sibby, muttering nonsense at the first glance, but underneath it all hides an extensive story later revealed through a quest. Players can then choose to partner up with Inigo in their adventure and begin enjoying Inigo's unique benefits such as location and item awareness, an engaging quest, making him not just a follower, but a friend and a companion. I also like using High Poly Inigo mod, an appearance change that stays true to his intended purpose, but making his head mesh much more appealing and textures visually more detailed and pronounced. Another follower mod that I can fully recommend would be Khajiit Will Follow. The mod adds 4 custom-voiced marryable Khajiit followers, 3 male and 1 female, to the world, each with their own unique quests, backstories, personalities, and playstyles that includes over 8,000 lines of dialogue across all 4. All of them engage in context-sensitive commentary on the weather, locations, weapons and magic you have out, items equipped, factions you're a part of, whether you're sneaking or not, and so on. The more you engage in a conversation with these guys, the more new things they'll have to say, but will only speak when spoken to avoid a pointless chatter base followers engage into, usually ruining immersion. To overhaul their appearance and make these guys much more aesthetic, I've added Iki's Replacer for a more modern and detailed look. Alright, as far as character customization is concerned, this is a rabbit hole that I went into for hours on end, as there is a ridiculous amount of mods for this aspect of the game. Not really sure why there are so many character customization mods for a Khajiit, but here is a brief run-through of the ones I've used. First, Khajiit Overhaul, a mod that introduces detailed textures to both male and female Khajiit, and also comes with meshes and unique skeletons, making them appear more like a feline race. Second, masculine textures for males, with or without Khajiit Overhaul, and feminine textures for females that also works with Khajiit Overhaul, but with properly applied patch as opposed to the male counterpart. Lioness look that adds a female head mesh mimicking lion appearance, and for hairstyles I use lion mane wigs and Apache hairstyles. But that's it, let me know down in the comments below if you want to see me cover other races, and I will make sure to create dedicated videos for all individually. Please make sure to endorse all of the authors and their creations, consider pledging to my Patreon for some cool benefits, and thank you for watching the video.